And talking about the role of the product marketer, what do you think that is the recommended background for a person that wants to work with product marketing? Would it be product? Would it be marketing? I mean, you have to have a major in marketing or no? Like, what are the background areas that you think that form great product marketing managers?
So it's interesting. I had this conversation with a EVP at Adobe, and she hires people that have consumer packaged good backgrounds and people that have strategy backgrounds in consulting because they're used to synthesizing a lot of data and information and driving it toward a business. She talks about how you can teach the technology part, but it's really important for someone to have that more strategic business-oriented mindset. And consumer packaged good product management and product marketing is very much oriented around that. Everything is a commodity good. How do you differentiate it in the market, and how do you grow the business based on what you're able to do in market? So that's why that tends to be a really interesting place to find people.
Very good. I have another one for this one that is about metrics. You talk about adoption, being adoption and driving metric to product marketing. And what would be the other metrics that product marketing managers are always on top?
Such a great question, and always a challenge because it's rare that product marketing is the sole owner of a metric that indicates they are succeeding. So sales hitting their number is an indicator that product marketing is enablement succeeds, but they don't do that alone. Funnel metrics that basically increase conversion rates. So typically the product marketing has the most impact middle of funnel to bottom of funnel, or bottom of funnel out the other end. That's a metric that they can be focused on. Analyst recommendations, where it's like we are the number one in our category, where they have evidence that the positioning of the company is working and having market impact. Those are all the metrics and indicators that product marketing is having an impact.
Did you ever saw product marketers working with internal tools or something more technical? Did you ever saw this situation?
I rarely do in that instance. Most product marketing tends to be much more externally market focused. In those internal tool situations, and I have seen it where like you'll have 800 people working on internal tools in large organizations, there it really falls to the product management team because no one's willing to resource it because it's an internal tool, and that's where I really encourage internal product managers to put that. You have to think of your internal audience as a market, which means you want to have evangelists internally. You need to think about the timing in which it goes out there. But
yeah, I work at some companies that had this issue, and how they solved it is they got one product marketer that was good and say, hey, help us a little bit here. It's not going to be your main function, but every time we need some help with internal tools because there's a lot of people using it, so we need to tell about new features, we need to train them, we need to make a go-to market for this new feature, so they started using it. Help us a little bit, and they would help, but it wasn't their main job, so it took a while for them to help. It's kind of hard, but I understand your point.
Yeah. And I think that's a failure mode I see often is you have too lean a product marketing resource for what you're asking of it. And so that person or those couple of people are spread peanut butter thin against a whole lot of product or a whole lot of tools. And so then the function fails in its ability to perform its job. So my recommendation in those instances is decide what they're not going to do and have them focus on what is most strategic and have that succeed wildly and have some stuff that other people just have to pick up. It's not pretty, but it will be much more effective than taking those resources and spreading them too thin.
I wish I had received this advice earlier in my career, Decide what not to take care of. Like, not everything is a request to product marketing to save.
Product marketing, this is another failure mode. Product marketing is not a service function. And the moment it is seen as a service function, it is not achieving its intended outcome. And that is truly a failure mode. Everybody stop what's happening and say we need to revisit what we want out of this and then make sure we design it to succeed based on what we want.
And besides internal tools, there is a type of product that Marcel mentioned. Do you see that product marketing can deliver the value to products that doesn't have a user interface, that are like products to the developers? Products that are only code, companies that nowadays create products that are very technical, but they have users, that the audience is the developers?
Absolutely. And how do you message to which part of the world? I'd say with highly technical products and developer audiences, the product marketing function really acts as the strategist. Where do we need to be? How much is event-based versus developer relations-based or evangelism-based? What's the thought leadership? They might be doing less of the actual asset creation. It might be developers who are actually doing that. But they are the ones that are driving the strategy. How much of this are we driving through an open source community versus doing through digital? It does seem a little bit more closer, it seems closer to the marketing generalist, but what anchors it in product is developer products tend to be very, very product forward. And how do you talk about them to developers versus how you talk about them to the world? There has to be a distinction.
Yeah.
And that's what the product marketer needs to help mitigate and understand. So that's why they need to be close to the product.
Very good, thank you.
E aí, gostou desse corte? Se você quiser, assista o episódio completo, basta clicar no link aqui na descrição. E se você gostou e quer deixar a gente sabendo disso, deixa o like e assina o nosso canal para a gente continuar trazendo conteúdo gratuito aqui no YouTube.